I guess I think about when they want to design their own life and they want certain things and they want to create new realities, new life for themselves. I think maybe it's not so much now, but there used to be this real big idea of the secret, of this manifestation, and of this law of attraction, yada yada yada.
Mhm.
I'm wondering what you think about all of those ideas in terms of your book of motivation. Do you think there's validity in it? Do you think do you think it's helpful?
I think it's helpful for some things, but for the ultimate goal of like increasing the odds of success, it in and of itself is not. And and let me explain why. So why is it helpful? Well, first of all, some people really do struggle to figure out, where am I going? What do I want? What do I want my life to be? What's important to me this year?
Hmm.
And going through that process, like The Secret suggests, of sort of compiling visual icons that reflect what you want, where you want to be, what that future positive you is going to look like. That's helpful. It's a helpful process to go through so that people can have that kind of direction and focus. Without it, it's like you're just investing effort aimlessly, but it's got nowhere to go. So we do want to know what the goal is. What are we working towards? And The Secret can offer suggestions for how to figure that out. The problem is that that perspective then goes on, it sort of stops the process of goal setting, just saying, okay, now stay positive, stay focused on what you want, put that positive karma out there. And the more positivity you put out, the more positivity is going to come back for you.
Right.
No, I'm all about being friendly. I'm all about, putting more positivity out in the world. We need that. But is it a strategy for increasing the success of goals? Maybe yes, maybe no. The maybe no reason is, if we look at the science of what can happen as people go through that process of visualizing, what is it going to be when I achieve X? What am I going to look like? What's it going to feel like? What's my day going to be like? That's beautiful. That's a beautiful visualization. That's a moment where you might feel really, really good. It might even, and in fact, the science says it does, lead us to feel a sense of goal satisfaction. We start to kind of chill out because now I can see myself there. It's not quite being there, but it's like halfway. I know what that's going to be like, and it feels
Right.
good. And I don't need to have that sort of burning drive anymore. And in fact, what colleagues of mine at New York University did was measure systolic blood pressure as people were going through that experience. Systolic blood pressure is the top number on your blood pressure reading. And behavioral scientists know that it's an indicator of energization, of our body's readiness to get up and go and do something. Systolic blood pressure goes up for horses while they're still in the stalls before they're about to take off for a race. They're penned in, they're confined, they're not moving, but their blood pressure is raising in anticipation of bursting out and working really hard. What my colleagues found is that when people are visualizing how great it's going to be when I hit this goal, what does that look like? What does that perfect life, that goal satisfied life look like? Systolic blood pressure goes down relative to people who are thinking about how great it's going to be. What is that? What is it that I want? What am I striving towards? And couple that with thinking about the obstacles that they might experience along the way. Systolic blood pressure is higher in that case, because now they're like, okay, I've got a plan. This is the work. This is the work that I'm going to do. Here are the challenges I might face and how I would pivot through them. So it's almost as if you're sort of vicariously experiencing that desirable end state when you stop with just the process of setting the goal. There's more things that we have to do after that to increase the odds that we will succeed,
Hmm.
like thinking about the obstacles, the possible failures, coming up with a plan B and a plan C, and making concrete plans of action that are going to connect the me and the here and now with that positive, desirable future self that I'm hoping to achieve. Let me give you an example about like that power of obstacle planning, foreshadowing failure. Michael Phelps, he's an incredible swimmer, one of the best men of recent
Sure.
times, and historic times, actually, because in 2008, when he was like first big on the Olympic stage, he was poised to do something that no Olympian in any sport had ever done in the history of the Olympic Games, which was win 8 gold medals in a single Olympiad. He had already won 7 at the time of this story. He had just the 200-meter fly to go, and if he would win that, he would win his 8th gold medal and break Olympic history. And the 200-meter fly was like his jam. That's what he was most known for. So it almost
Right.
seemed like a shoe-in. Except when he dove off the side and started swimming, it's back and forth, his goggles started to leak. He had one length left and his goggles were completely filled with water and he was swimming blind. Now, we know that these races are determined by less than a second, right? The difference between first place and second place could be like 300 milliseconds, a third of a second. So
Sure.
even a brief moment of a hiccup or catching your breath or panic or just taking you out of that perfected flow state could mean the difference between breaking Olympic history and coming in second or third place. But it didn't cause him that kind of anxiety. It didn't break the state that he was in because he instantly turned to his plan B, which was to start counting his strokes because he knew exactly how many strokes it takes for him to get from one end of the pool to the other. So
Huh.
he was able to make that quick pivot, win that 200-meter fly, win his 8th gold medal, and break Olympic history. He would go on to win like over a dozen more medals in his time. He's incredible. But the reason that he could do that is because he had, and his coach had foreshadowed that possibility. They practiced for when your goggles fail, what do you do? They had envisioned that possibility and they had rehearsed that plan B in advance of this moment of competition when, of course, they couldn't predict that that would happen. So he didn't know when he might need to turn to this plan B, but when he did, like, thank God he knew what to do instantly. In fact, his coach, it's been rumored, would like rip his goggles off of his head and smash them on the side of the pool so that there's no way he could even practice with these goggles. I don't know whether that's true. That seems a bit overly dramatic, but maybe. But the point is that he did practice swimming without visual experience, without sight. And so he had that backup plan and could enact it right away.
Right. So you're saying it, as it pertains to the secret and things like that, just foreshadowing the path that you're on and being prepared and creating these contingencies isn't about chicken little thinking. It's more in preparation for the path that you're about to take.
Right. And the secret doesn't tell us simultaneously make a board of all the ways that this plan isn't going to work out, that it's going to
Right.
fail, right?
Right.
Envision yourself crying, envision yourself without the time and the money. Like no one makes a board like that. I'm not
Right.
saying necessarily you should, but it is worth the time to think through what happens if X. How could this plan go wrong? What are the ways that it might, and what would I do? What
Totally.
resources might I have? And you're not going to be able to flesh out that whole alternative line. But if you can give yourself a jump start, then you won't be starting already a quarter of a mile back if you should experience that kind of obstacle.